Well, good morning, everybody. I want to begin again today with some satellite data from yesterday. We were watching for the really strong winds to be coming out of parts of New Mexico into Texas, where we had that wildfire risk. And what was interesting about this is you could see just as the sun was setting, you get a better kind of more oblique angle from the sun hitting it, but this is all sand actually coming from the White Sands National Park out of New Mexico. So very strong winds. I did not see on satellite any large wildfires that showed up. So important that we had the risk out for this area, but thankfully we didn't see any, at least from what I can tell, any large fires that showed up. Outside of that, just wanted to take note of a couple other things. You can see some of the snowpack in the Canadian Prairie and up into Montana, but also notice that most of the upper Midwest northern plains is snow-free right now, and we need to talk about the longer-standing drought issues in that area as we go forward. Now, at the very end of this animation, let's actually let it reset here. This is early this morning, just as the sun was rising. There were a few pockets of some deeper convection in places, like right here, coming over the Illinois-Indiana border. I saw it also last night in parts of Missouri, and I was keeping an eye on this. I'm in North Carolina, but I live right around here in Illinois, and just to the north of us this morning, of course, after I leave, we finally get some thunderstorms in the vicinity. So some storms here between Chicago and Champaign, also getting over here into this section of Indiana, and then in and around central parts of Ohio as well this morning. So this was pretty well forecast, I think, by the National Weather Service, so good on them for kind of picking up on that pattern. Okay, here's the thing I've been talking about for a while. I'm always happy when I see that the models picked up on a signal 10, 12 days early. And you want to know what I'm talking about? It's this. So for the last, it feels like more than a week, we've been discussing how there's going to be this deepening of a trough of low pressure sitting in the Bering Sea. And to the south of it, we were going to get the evolution of the polar jet returning to the flow. The subtropical jet is way down here, and this is the little weak wave moving through the Midwest right now. We talked yesterday about how this low is staying farther away from the West Coast. It's still there as well, but I want to see what the newest updates are going to be on where this particular piece of the jet stream and what follows it is what it's going to do to the central United States. Because as you know, early next week, like next Tuesday, Wednesday, we're quite concerned about a potential for a severe weather outbreak in the midsection of the country after this system tackles kind of parts of the Pacific Northwest and British Columbia. So overall, for these next 2 weeks, we see this. So this is a 2-week longer, 15-day actually. It's a 15-day precipitation anomaly map. And a couple things to take note of. This will be snow. A lot of this up here will be snow. Some of this in the Cascades, Olympic Mountains, is going to be snow. Northern Rockies, snow. Places we need it. All right. Heavy rains here as well. We have decent rains coming into the Ohio Valley, where we need the rain, really need the rain pretty badly. And we also need it over in this part of North Carolina, where I am today. Well, I'm in Raleigh, but a little bit farther to the east, we need to get moisture back into this region of the country as well. Now, seeing drier conditions across parts of the south and southern plains. Remember, most of this winter has had pretty strong subtropical flow that's rolled through this area, and we've really relieved the drought. We'll take a look at the new drought monitor in tomorrow's video. I'm looking forward to seeing what its newest updates are. But to give California a little bit of a break, parts of the south a little bit of a break while the jet stream returns north, I think that's going to be kind of an important transition going forward. There is still an area that I'm concerned about. It's not just down here, but it's more up the plains into this area. I had hoped when watching this pattern evolve in the models, a week and a half ago, that we would be able to, like I said yesterday, spin up some lows in the northern Rockies here, come right off the lee of the Rockies. But it appears that the jet stream flows a bit too fast for that. So we're not able to draw the moisture up, leave a slow-moving low over this part of the country to deliver that moisture. So with that as kind of a setup, let's get right into kind of the background state of this. Now, this is valid through yesterday morning on the 21st, but this is looking at the last 14 days of total accumulated precipitation as a percent of normal. All right. So what I'm looking for here is to kind of fill in some of these gaps with this pattern. And these are areas where we need to see good moisture recovery at the end of winter, beginning of spring, to ensure that we get into spring with a good supply of subsurface soil moisture. Again, something I'll update you on when we get into the forecast video tomorrow on Friday. So with all of that, here it is. There's the piece of the jet stream I'm watching. Here's the cutoff low to the south. Here's the weak low moving through today. As we play this forward, see this guy right here? That trough is going to be diving through the Great Lakes out of the north, delivering a shot at cold air and some snow. I'll show you that in a second, but it's just a shot. And what follows it is this. So see the trajectory coming in like that. We have the cutoff low here, and they're going to work together. So this is Saturday getting into Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. Now, what we've been seeing in the models is now being reflected in a single operational run from the European. The polar jet coming in and running out. But the subtropical jet is coming in right at the base of the trough of the polar jet, which will enhance it. Now, what I mean by that is, if you didn't have this jet streak in through here, and the jet just kind of opened up into this longer wave and rolled over the Rocky Mountains, we do not have the right setup to get really strong cyclogenesis, the development of a low pressure system. But the subtropical jet coming in, this is the low that was sitting here. That subtropical jet coming into this area is enhancing the divergence. Now what this means is that here's your jet streak, here's your broader wave. And what you're going to be getting out of the jet streak, we can just divide this up into 4 quadrants. There's a lot of upper level divergence there. There's actually a second streak in this area, and that second jet streak is also going to have some divergence in this quadrant too. Now the broader trough, which is all in through here, has divergence in this area as well. So the net effect of all of this is to produce a broad area in the planes of divergence coming from like 3 different supports, like triple D divergence. I used to call it that when I taught about it. This is just an interesting and complex setup, but that's next Tuesday getting into Wednesday. And the fact that that stays on the southern side increases not only the upper level winds, but the mid and lower level winds, creating a highly sheared environment with rapidly decompressing atmosphere, which means we're going to be producing low pressure. We've opened up the Gulf. It's going to be very, very warm, and it's just got a lot of us concerned about the risk of a pretty sizable outbreak of severe weather in this area with snow even on the backside. And then the atmosphere's not done. It just wants to do it again. This is Friday, getting into Saturday, and look what we have again. Subtropical jet. We have broader trough here. There's the enhancement in between. The ridge opens up following the first system, which means warmth returns. We could get another round of this in early March. So we're kind of getting a late February lion and then a March lion after. It's kind of the bigger idea here. Okay, with all of that being said, we still have to look at the near term. So here are our thunderstorms this morning represented on the high-res NAM. Rain trying to fill in throughout parts of the Ohio Valley today, and then that moves into New England. We could get a conversion over to some snow in parts of New York, Vermont, New Hampshire, possibly some ice into parts of Maine as well. This front then clears the mid-Atlantic and stretches all the way down here to the Gulf Coast, and then it's out. Now behind it, keep an eye on this. This is that trough that's digging into the Great Lakes with some colder air, and we could get some snow out of this on Friday in this area, Friday night, moving into the Ohio Valley again with some lake effect following it. But that is literally just a brief shot at some colder air, and it pushes up against the Appalachian Mountains by the time we get into midday Saturday. Now, after that, it's going to be about the rebounding of heat in the midsection of the country, and then the jet coming in to do its thing. So we need to go straight to the models to kind of get a look at this. Okay, so let's just play through where we've already been. This is through Friday. There's that front coming through Friday night to Saturday morning right there. And then that's out. Okay, this is now Sunday. Can you already see the northern branch hitting British Columbia? Mountain snow's there. Here is the cutoff low. Here's the jet stream. We're going to watch here where all that divergence is going to be for this system to show up next week. So this is Sunday night getting into Monday. This goes right over the Pacific Northwest. Look at the snow that's going to spread through this part of the Canadian prairie. And just where we thought, that low pressure is going to start to develop. It's in both models. Now it is Lee cyclogenesis, but it doesn't sit here. It just moves. The flow is too fast. So this is now Tuesday morning, Tuesday afternoon and evening, and this is when we're going to be on the lookout for our first area of thunderstorm risk. Now, I know right now you're looking at it going, oh, the models really don't clue in on this. I know they will. They're going to start to show this up much more concisely, I think, as we get out there. That's Tuesday night into Wednesday afternoon and evening. And it appears that we're going to kind of have a Tuesday risk in this area and a Wednesday risk in this area. That's what I would think out of this pattern. Now, on the backside, coming out of the Colorado Rockies, we do have the opportunity here to get some snow. I'm just rocking back and forth, and my eyes, to be honest with you, are looking more over here on the right-hand side of the European. But this is 6 a.m. Tuesday through 6 a.m. Wednesday, getting through 6 a.m. Thursday. See that? 3 days. And we'll see what that looks like in terms of total accumulated snowfall in just a second. When that system's out, the next one's already into the Pacific Northwest. This would be by next Friday. We're going to just see how that one translates over the mountains as well. Take note that the next system in the European is trying to dive a little farther south, influencing more of the Sierra Nevada in this pattern. Okay, let's get to the severe weather side of it. The Storm Prediction Center has updated their day 4 through 8 outlook, and we're looking right now at next Tuesday. So they've already got an area out that they're keeping a close eye on. So this goes from the Red River of the south all the way up to this part of Lake Michigan. This whole region through here has the risk of those strong to severe storms. That's day 6. This is what day 7 looks like. So we move this a bit more over the mid-south toward the Ohio River Valley and parts of the southeast. So again, day 6, day 7, that's Tuesday, Wednesday. That's what we're going to be watching for. Very important forecast coming up in terms of severe weather in this area. Okay, how about another aspect of the storm system? It's going to be the windy side of it. This is maximum accumulated surfaced wind gusts. Okay, so we just played through Monday, and you can already see coming in the northwest and off of the mountains, very strong downslope winds. And then you get out here to Tuesday and Wednesday when this low is really kind of gathering its strength. So that's Tuesday into Wednesday. And just as it rapidly deepens, moving across the country, and you now know why it has all the support to do that. We've got a broad area through here that could be expecting to get possibly 40 to 60 mile an hour wind gusts out of just the synoptic scale winds. I think we're going to see a lot of 40s, but there could be some places in here that pick up those 60 mile an hour winds. Now that's not telling you what the thunderstorm winds are going to do. That's just looking at the synoptic scale winds. So next Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, watch the evolution of the system and the wind threat with this as well. Coming over to the precipitation side, let's just add up what the European has. So generally here, we're looking at under a ½ inch from the system right now that's moving toward New England. We're then going to watch a little bit of snow that comes in behind this in a few moments later this weekend. And then there it is. You can see the system coming into the northwest, inching its way into a developing low right here in the midsection of the country, but moving quickly after that to show up in Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday's pattern right here across the Midwestern United States and the Great Lakes. Okay, how well does this match up with the GFS? Well, here's the GFS up to that point as well. Let's just kind of rock through it. And you can see that it's quite aggressive in parts of Tennessee and Kentucky with the threat of severe weather and heavy rains out of this next system that rolls through. Again, that'd be next Wednesday that we're keeping an eye on that area. There is some snow in this, as we talked about, and there's the first round. So the European model taking some snow out of the Great Lakes to maybe Illinois, Indiana, Kentucky, right up against the Appalachian Mountains, a little bit in parts of New England as well. But then it's all going to be focused on here, the Canadian Prairie, and then what can come out with that system next week. So Cascades adding up, possibly in some places picking up a couple feet out of this, maybe some more in the Sierra Nevada. Great snows in the Central Rockies. There's the snow swath across the Canadian Prairie. And then after that system rolls through, the latest European model tries to put snow on the backside from Colorado all the way to the UP. So we'll watch out for that. That's just where the European model has it. Does the GFS have it in a similar area? Not quite. That's out to about the same time frame in the GFS. What I do see, though, is that these models are really increasing the probabilities of very heavy snow in the Cascades, which is what I want to look at next. This map shows you the chance of getting an inch over the next 10 days. So you can kind of see the first two pushes, one in New England, one here, one up against the Appalachian Mountains, and then the probabilities trying to increase behind that second system in this part of the plains. But if I show you the probability for 3 inches, it's primarily up in the Canadian Prairie, and then in the west. In the west, look at this, that's 6, 12, 18, 24. I love it. Better than 2 feet of snow, possibly adding up into the Cascades. Good chance in the Northern Rockies. We need this. We need this in a big way. My problem, and this again is what I told you yesterday that I think I struggled with seeing with this pattern early, is that starting from day 5, that's next Monday night, stretching this all the way out to day 10, which goes to next Saturday night, the way that this system is developing is that it is not bringing in a lot of moisture to the plains. It's mainly east. This is the probability of staying under 1/10 of an inch of total accumulated precipitation through the next 10 days. Now, under 1/2 inch is even broader across the plains. Remembering that we're going to watch for the severe weather in this area to show up next Tuesday and then here next Wednesday. The chance of getting an inch is highest in the Ohio Valley, pushing into parts of New England, and then of course in the west, where the chances of getting more than 2 inches is very high and 4 inches is quite high. That's been a pretty consistent picture being painted by the European ensemble. Speaking of the European ensemble, this is the early March system we're now watching. This is day 10. There's our next trough, the ridge that opens up ahead of it, just like we saw with the one coming next week. And then that trough zips through here by March 4th into March 5th. And this will be the next one we're going to keep an eye on right there. See that? So we've got 2 systems coming, one per week, that we need to watch coming over the Rocky Mountains after hitting the west. And then just take note, even out there March 6th and 7th, we've not yet lost that pattern of having troughs in the west and ridges in the east. Okay, so that we're going to begin March with this look overall. Okay, from there, let's talk about that week 2 precipitation outlook. Notice that the CPC has gone over with mostly a wetter outlook for a lot of the United States. My only comment is I don't want people that are in this section of the country to get an idea from this map that it's going to be overly wet. It's just the chances of getting above average precip to finish February and start March. We really got to get a deep trough into this area that lingers. It's not quickly ejecting to give us good pull on moisture that can return some moisture to this area. That's what I'm waiting on. Okay, on the temperature side of it, early this morning, about 5:20 a.m. Central Time, I'm just amazed at how much warm air is sitting out ahead right now. So we can see that, we've got pretty mild air making it all the way to the Ohio Valley. We didn't even get down into the low 60s last night in parts of Texas. And if we look at the temperatures where they're going to be today, again, another day, Austin, 88 degrees Fahrenheit. But take a look up here in Iowa and Wisconsin. Temperatures rebounding pretty quickly back up into the 60s. That's 25 degrees above average. There's Friday. Watch the colder air come into the Great Lakes Friday into Saturday. That's when we get the risk of that snow, remember? Cool in New England, but that doesn't last long. Watch. This is Saturday into Sunday. Already mild air coming back through, knocking those colder temperatures out of New England. That's Sunday into Monday. Very, very warm. Remember, as this comes in, Monday into Tuesday, these much above average temperatures, it's not going to be coming in like a pleasant 74 degrees in Quincy or 77 in St. Louis. This comes in with really, really windy conditions next Tuesday, and it will drop off quickly behind it. Those temperatures will. So pretty wild ride on temperatures overall. But just to show you, this is midday Monday, already looking at the stronger winds in the northern plains. Then you get in there to Tuesday morning. By Tuesday evening, very strong switch around on the winds. Here's the winds coming out of the southwest, out of the south there. This is a dynamic system with a strong cold front. There'll be a dry line here, and there'll be a warm front stretching right into, actually it'll be this far north, way up here. Very, very windy conditions with this system. Just want to make sure that I've made that point several times. Okay, temperature-wise though, day 5 through 10, still mild. All the coldest air is locked up into Alaska, and that's where I think it's going to stay. I don't have any reason right now to say that through the beginning of March we dislodge this pattern. If something changes out there, if like the MJO really does make a move, or I get some evidence of some high latitude blocking, then we'll tell you. But right now, this is the pattern we're kind of entrenched in for a little while. Next, is that lining up with the latest European model forecast? Well, that's day 5 through 10, and that's day 10 through 15. So you can see that there's pretty good agreement between the models all the way out there to the 8th of March. Now, I've heard a little chatter and some folks asking a lot about this just over email. Is there a polar vortex disruption we need to talk about? So the polar vortex has been perturbed by a big ridge in the stratosphere that's over Alaska right now, and it's pushed it over to this part of Russia and northern Europe. But the disruption of the polar vortex is expected to kind of fade. Right here, this is the forecast going back toward that black line, which would be average. And what does all that mean? Well, there's the polar vortex on the other side of the planet. And as I play this out here through this weekend into early next week, I just don't have reason to see that the polar vortex is kind of linking up with the tropospheric vortex to deliver sustained cold air through the beginning of March. So I don't know. I mean, we have to see this sucker really wobble around and come. I mean, it's got to come screaming back over to this part of the world, and there's just not a lot of evidence for that to happen right now. So I'll have to wait on that. Okay, going out there a bit further, I still, my longer range forecast for March is unchanged, and that's because I still think that the atmosphere is responding to the distribution of temperatures we see across global oceans. I don't have any evidence that the MJO, whoops, sorry, I accidentally closed it there, but it's still in null space, trying to pop out over Australia, but not even that strongly. So we continue to see, and that's where we needed to arrive with this, we continue to see that the European model for the month of March continues to paint almost the exact same picture it's been painting. And does it line up with the analogs? It does. And I showed you this now many, many times. If you need a more of an in-depth discussion on my February, March, April outlook, go back to yesterday's video, the one I produced on Wednesday, and I've got it in there as well. But until I have a different idea, I don't have any reason to push away from this as an outlook for the month of March for temperatures and precipitation. I just think it's too dry in here. That's all. Excuse me. Yeah, the model's too dry. I think it'll be wetter than what's shown in this area. Okay, which leaves me with some international weather just to finish this up. There is a tropical system named Lincoln that's going to roll right here along the coast of Australia. And why this is important is that much of Western Australia has been in the grips for the last couple of weeks of extreme heat. I'm talking every day the temperature is 40 to 45 degrees C. That's over 100 Fahrenheit. And as a result, we've had some that excessive heat has caused some high stress on this whole side of Australia. So this tropical system is going to relieve a little bit of that. But overall, if you look at where the coldest air is in place right now, the only major metropolitan areas that are stuck with cold air are here in China. So much of Europe, much of the United States. This is just, we're avoiding that high heating demand by having the pattern lock the coldest air in Alaska or Greenland or this part of Russia and China. So it's away from our major population centers at this point. We do see some cooler air coming into Argentina. Most of Brazil is near normal to a little bit above normal. If we look at the precipitation patterns over the whole planet, still wet in this part of Europe. We see wetter conditions across the north of Australia. Tell me that the MJO is probably living in some place around here, but right there is the Lincoln rain that we definitely need. And coming into South America, the drier conditions in through here will probably help finish up harvest and the planting of soybeans, but they do need, the planting of corn. They do need to get good moisture returning back into this area, which several of the models are trying to do as we finish February and start March. But a little bit of a drier signal right now. Argentina has another frontal boundary coming through, so better rains in the kind of the northern growing areas of Argentina. I still don't have a reason, I still don't have a reason to look at South America and see a major red flag to finish February and start March. I'm just worried later in March about the dryness in here and how that lasts into April, which we've talked quite a bit about in the last few videos. So I'm going to stop here and hope you all have a good rest of your day, and we'll talk again tomorrow morning. Thanks.